How serious is this threat to President Trump?
Well, listen, anytime something like this happens, it's a serious threat. I will tell you that everything I've been hearing now in the last 20 hours out of the White House is that they think that this is not going to amount to what the reaction that they've gotten from the Democrats. They feel like they're overreacting to this. They are now saying they're releasing the transcript unredacted today. They're saying they're going to release the whistleblower complaint and allow the whistleblower to talk to the committees of Congress. And I will tell you, I don't see it as a seismic kind of reaction that they're having.
But if the President of the United States was encouraging a foreign leader to investigate a political rival, that is arguably an impeachable offense, isn't it?
Well, we have to look at what the context is, George, right? So, for instance, if he's saying, listen, do me a favor, go investigate Joe Biden, that's one thing. If he's saying, listen, I'm concerned about corruption, you've just gotten elected, we send hundreds of millions of dollars over there, you need to start looking at this. For instance, one of the things that occurred was the Hunter Biden situation. That becomes totally different. So what I'd say to everybody is, let's take a breath, let's read the transcript, and let's read the whistleblower complaint, and then we're going to be able to make some real judgments here.
This is Christie only hours before the transcript of Trump's phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky was released, who claimed on air that what would truly sink Trump would be if he said the words, "Do me a favor." Well, the transcript was released, and lo and behold, there just so happens to appear the words, "I would like you to do us a favor." Because of course Trump would say the thing that Christie thought was so stunningly corrupt that he figured he could say it on air without fear of incriminating the president. Only, he forgot we're dealing with Trump. And even in context, the phone call transcript is devastating for Trump. During the call, he says, "We do a lot for Ukraine, we spend a lot of effort and a lot of time," which is a reference to the $250 million in military assistance that we spend them. He then says, "The US has been very, very good to Ukraine. I wouldn't say it's reciprocal necessarily because things are happening that are not good," in which Trump broaches the topic of reciprocity, where he again suggests that we give to them but aren't getting enough in return. And then, right on cue, comes the requests by Trump. He starts with this one, saying, "I would like you to do us a favor though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it. I would like you to find out what happened with CrowdStrike." And this is a reference to a conspiracy theory pushed by Giuliani, suggesting that Ukraine had something to do with the emails stolen from the DNC. But Trump goes on, saying, "The other thing, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that, so whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. It sounds horrible to me." In which Trump, again, right after discussing the idea of reciprocity, asks Zelensky to look into Biden, to which Zelensky responds that his new prosecutor will be 100% my person, my candidate, and will look into the situation. So to sum up, Trump was clear that the US gives aid to Ukraine, that he doesn't feel like he's been given much in return, but he just so happens to have a favor to ask, all while our continuing aid is still in flux, and Zelensky acquiesces. And then the aid is released along with an additional $140 million that no one in the White House seems to have an answer for. So I'm not saying that this is an outright quid pro quo, but yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. And look, of course Trump is going to try and spin this as if it was the means to an end for some righteous cause, that he simply wants to fight corruption, but that's complete BS. And the reason I know it's BS is that if Trump was actually against corruption, then he wouldn't commit arguably the single most corrupt act of his presidency to try and root it out. You can't proclaim to be against arson while setting the forest on fire. Do you see how that could possibly be problematic? But to even give oxygen to this whole corruption thing is taking Trump's bait. All Trump wanted, plain and simple, was to yet again conspire with a foreign country to interfere in our election. Because after his campaign cooperated with Russian officials in 2016, after the Trump Tower meeting for dirt on Hillary Clinton, and Manafort sharing polling data, and Flynn promising to lift sanctions, and Trump asking the Russians on national TV to find Hillary Clinton's emails, and basically getting away with it, he simply assumed he could get away with it again. Which is why Trump's phone call with President Zelensky of Ukraine came the day after Mueller testified to Congress. Once he realized that Mueller's testimony wouldn't be enough to move the needle on impeachment, he didn't even wait 24 hours until the dust had settled on one effort to conspire with a foreign power before he immediately dove headfirst into another effort to conspire with a foreign power. And look, I know you might not believe this, but it's almost like Trump got greedy. The fact is, Trump's actions were so egregious that they were verbatim the worst case scenario outlined by Christie, and that should give every Republican pause. Because before they fall in line behind Trump, they might want to consider whether he even stands a chance, since so far, it's turning out to be a nightmare for the president.